Okay, I would like to start doing multiple videos, not, about specific parts of it. Like, I'm doing like videos where I'm just like doing like a chapter of each one of these, a chapter of, and each video about each chapter of this book. This is not like that video, or this is not that type of video. This video is this is just one of those videos where I kind of want to talk about a certain concept or a couple of concepts that are kind of used and talked about by Deleuze and Guattari in A Thousand Plateaus. I've been reading the third plateau, which is the third chapter, or whatever you want to call it. It's called the geology of morals. Who does the earth think it is? And that's kind of led me to think about a lot of other different things, about the whole book in general, and about a certain few concepts. So I guess in this video, I kind of want to talk about what they talk about when they use the word machine, and how that kind of relates to ethics, and that relation can seem weird, especially when you're reading this. The whole relation between machines and ethics can sometimes seem a little weird, but there is definite relation between what they call machine and ethics. So a machine, basically, I guess I wouldn't recommend watching this video if you don't know anything about this book, or if you don't know anything about what they're saying or doing, or this is not a video where if you want to get some quick info on this book, if you have never read it, this is not a good video for that, because I'm going to talk about machines. And I've kind of given an intro to some of their, like a brief intro to this book, and to some of their various concepts in a different video that I made either early this year or late last year. I forget when exactly, but you can go to that if you want a bit of a brief overview, but I'm not going to sit here and talk about each of those things, to kind of give you a preface to understand what they mean by machine. So as you know, they are talking about a process philosophy. They are doing process philosophy, which doesn't have, they're giving a metaphysics that doesn't have a true form or a foundation or any stability at all. It's a process philosophy, and it's not about being. It's not about we're not talking about the way things are. We are thinking with the cosmos and talking about becoming, and talking about we're talking about deterritorialization in many ways. Deterritorialization is when something becomes other than it is, and their philosophy is, in a word, based upon that, and the many different ways and different things, the many different words that they use in accompaniment of the word deterritorialization. So that's kind of what they're doing, and they talk about a rhizome in the first chapter, or the first plateau of this book. A rhizome is in the botany world is a root that doesn't go up like, say, a tree, but it goes horizontally, and doesn't go like this, where you have really little ones and it gets bigger, and you have this big root where everything is hierarchical. Any one point can connect with any other point of this whole rhizome. That's basically what a rhizome is. Any one point in this whole structure can connect with any other point, and there's no way that things are going, or there's no meaning or truth to this whole thing. But that's just it's a philosophy of dispersion, in a word. It's not a philosophy that's going to be trying to establish anything. So in a way, they're kind of like Derrida or Foucault, but they do it in a in a wholly different way. So I guess that's the best preface that I can give you. If you want a better preface, go to my videos, go to John David Ebert's videos. Read the book itself would be the main thing, as long as you have some background in philosophy, which can allow you to even understand it, because it's a chore for people who are disciplined in philosophy and do have good backgrounds in philosophy to even grasp. So a machine is kind of relates to their philosophy of process and their philosophy of time, and how we're talking about the way things are going, and there's no one destination that things are going to, but things are going. A line of flight is a phrase that they use. A line of flight is not where we have an event where things are proceeding toward a certain given point. A line of flight is just an instance that something is going somewhere, or that something is happening, or some some tour. If we're talking about this with a rhizome analogy, a tuber is going off somewhere, and we don't know where, nor do we are going to try and figure out where. It's just going. A machine, though, is imminent production, according to them. A machine is something where there's no subject, there's no organizing center of it. So it's not like any machine you can think of, like a literal machine. There's no end for it. It's just it's a thing that exists, that produces for the sake of production and nothing more. And in Anti-Oedipus, which I have not read that one actually, but I plan on reading it once I get through the majority of this. And I've read this already. I'm just kind of doing this for video wise, but I've never read Anti-Oedipus before. In Anti-Oedipus, though, apparently they talk about how life is literally a machine, but a machine is things that produce. It's something that does happen to produce, not producing so that this can happen. It's not producing for a certain end. It's production for the sake of production. It's just simply put, it's production. It's something that does produce without a subject, without a organized center, without a foundation, without anything. And machine is something that is used a lot in their philosophy, where they talk about the war machine. They talk about a lot of different other machines. They talk about the absolute machine. They talk about there's a lot of different machines that they talk about. But one of the main ones is the war machine, which I plan on talking about in a different video that I hopefully will do today. But there are different kinds of machines, and a war machine is, I guess to get a better idea of what a machine is, kind of to describe one of the machines that they invoke. The main one, which is the most common, at least in this book, is the war machine, and that has to do with the nomad and nomadic thought, which I do plan on discussing nomadism or nomadology in a different video. But the war machine is almost like it's also like it is a machine in their terms, so it's not a subject that is moving towards some end. It's not producing for some end. It's producing, but it's a war machine is almost like a anarchic thing, which is resisting resisting stability, resisting control, resisting foundation, resisting anything that is not anarchic. So it kind of has a spirit of anarchy, and basically what the nomad or nomadic thought is that of deterritorialization and reterritorialization, where they can basically relocate, not spatially specifically, could be spatially, but not necessarily, usually not. The nomad is one who, like, let's say if, one reads this book, Hegel's Phenomenology of Spirit, and swears by it and lives by it, and that's just this book, according to that one person, is his guidebook to life or whatever. That's not a nomad. A nomad is somebody who relocates in many different ways. But a nomad is something that I plan on discussing in more depth. But it's movement across space or movement between points. It's also a resistance. It's also a resistance to the state, and the state is another thing that is more drawn out in the Anti-Oedipus. I do have the Anti-Oedipus, I just have not read it yet. So, basically a machine is something that is, of course, not, it's something that there are different kinds of machines for different, not different reasons, because there's no, like, one thing that it's supposed to be doing, but there are different kinds of machines that produce in different ways, not for any ends. So how does this relate to ethics? And the machine can allow one to rethink ethics in, like, different from Kant, different from any ethics in the 18th, 19th, or 20th, or 21st century that aims to find a foundation of morality or tries to figure out a absolute system that you are going to live by, say consequentialism or deontology. So it's rethinking ethics in that it is a reactive ethics, or it is active ethics, where there is no pre-given unity that this ethics is supposed to be going by. And a mechanism is a closed machine, and where there is a specific function that it has. And basically, ethics can be rethought through the machine by, in that ethics is that there's things that one can act a certain way, when the time comes in the future, or as, it's active. There's no sedentary thing about it. So given any situation, there's no one thing that's gonna determine how you act, or what you think. So, I mean, that's kind of interesting, though. And there are different connections, where and different mechanisms can be produced, but that's just their way of, I guess that's one way that they would kind of discuss it. But ethics can be rethought this way, in their terms of a machine and their whole philosophy in general, by rethinking it as active or reactive. That given any circumstance, there is a entirely unique reaction that one could have, or reaction in one's thought that doesn't conform to anything. It doesn't have any pre-given unity at all. So let me know in the comments if you think I should have included something here. And thank you.